you, through to your right. Thanks.
Hello everyone, and welcome on board your Jetstar flight. As you settle in, we ask that you move into your seat as quickly as possible, leaving the aisle clear behind you. Please place your smaller personal belongings underneath.
Oh yes, there's coffee.
Ladies and gentlemen, leaders from not-for-profits, corporate leaders, government people, university folk, people from various industry groups, grassroots contributors to social good products and projects, social entrepreneurs, people who are simply interested in the social good area, Sydney University students who have just wandered in here from the Fisher Library wondering what the hell is going on here today, distracted Pokemon Go players who are not listening to a word that I'm saying. I think that pretty much covers everybody in the room. Hopefully it does. Good morning, welcome to the Sydney University Business School, and it gives me great pleasure to welcome you all to the Social Good Summit Australia 2016, and that is your opportunity to burst into a spontaneous and totally impromptu round of applause. I live here in Sydney. I'm a proud father of 3 young children, 2 boys and a little girl called Lucy. I actually wanted to call her Alexis because if she hadn't come along, I'd probably be driving one by now. These are the decisions that we make, ladies and gentlemen. Today, as one large group, almost capacity in this room, we have gathered together leaders and interested parties from the world of not-for-profits, from the corporate world, from the government world, from the university world and industry bodies, as well as many grassroots, hands-on contributors. I will pretend to be genuinely interested and genuinely inspired at everything that takes place. So help me, founder Pacha David. Thank you very much. Excellent. some nice...
We can be the generation that is going to end extreme poverty. We can be the generation that will fight and find a solution for climate change. We must be. And we also can be the generation that is going to fight and finish inequalities in the world. I believe that we can be, because we all can be heroes if we decide to be.
In order to be effective at bringing about social change, you need to be passionate advocates, and I'm sure you're all of that. You also need to have strong skills, and you need to have a good team around you so that you can be patient, persistent, and effective advocates for social change. Thank you very much.
Social isolation is not caused by fanatics with guns looking for an infidel. Mostly social isolation is caused by people of goodwill with degrees looking for a problem to solve. Thanks, see you. You were born social. Some woman pushed you out in a most intimate way, yelling, hopefully, to some bloke, "This is all your fault." And then they put you in school and started to teach you that everyone's your competitor. And something like 90% finish that process feeling like they are failures. I had a primary school teacher tell me that more than half her class, primary school, were medicated. Well, how many kids have we got to medicate to make this system work before a bell goes off? We love the power of one. Almost all of our movies show you an injustice, and then some hero, usually with the help of a gun, if it's an American movie, deals out justice to somebody, and this whole idea of the power of one is reinforced. And it's an illusion. It's an utter illusion. And I promise you, no change takes place while you have your head up your bum analysing how you feel about stuff. See, the problem is, because of the culture we live in, because we believe this power of one shit, because we've swallowed it, we keep relating to each other as problems to be solved, not as people to be met. And it doesn't matter if we get talking. In the culture we live in, it's not long before I start thinking out, well, what's up with you? And what might your options be? You're not feeling very well. I know a doctor, da-da-da-da-da. What did the doctor say? Well, my auntie had that disease. Did you try this, blah, blah, blah. And you become my problem to solve. And it doesn't matter how good my heart is, there's a push away in that because you're my problem. You're not a person for me to meet.
First year of operation, and with some stories reaching up to 1.5 million people, Noah now reaches a broad section of Australian society with its real-life tales of the inspirational people who come to our shores. Nicola herself has lived on many shores all over the world. She's been an English language teacher, and she tells me that she speaks Portuguese very badly, in her words. So, senhora e senhora, por favor, seja bem-vinda, or just say g'day to Nicola Gray. Please welcome Nicola.
Hi everybody. I'd like to start by just asking you what you think comes to most people's minds when they think about refugees. As you probably know, we're currently witnessing the greatest refugee crisis in recorded history. 1 in every 113 human beings on the planet is currently a refugee, displaced or an asylum seeker, which is 65 million people. Fortunately, 87% of these refugees are currently hosted in poor developing countries in Africa, the Middle East and South Asia, and Australia takes 0.5%. And eventually I had an idea, totally inspired by Humans of New York, of telling these people's stories on social media. And that's how New Humans of Australia was born. It's a project that tells these stories on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter.
When I was 19, I was living in Adelaide. My car blew up and I used my rent money to fix it because I needed the car for the job. And so I was sleeping in my car for about 4 months, and I went undercover as a homeless person. I went into some shelters just to see what it was like, what was involved, why weren't more people staying in them, or why couldn't they, those sorts of things. And I remember one night, I never slept in one shelter. I went to a few, but I never slept. But there was one where there was like 100 mattresses on the floor, and we all just piled in, and you just get allocated a spot and lay down. And there was a guy that clearly had done this before. As soon as his head hit the pillow, he was out like a light. But the weird thing was there was fights going on all around us and that sort of stuff. But people were taking the shoes off his feet and going through his bags while he was asleep. And just it came back to that safe sleeps, and that's the thing that really got me and really struck me. And I thought, okay. I originally thought, I'm not going to start my own charity, that's crazy, I'll help somebody else. I sort of thought, okay, so my problem that I'm going to solve is this safe sleep, getting people off the street. I don't want to see that anymore. I thought it might work, and then I thought, now I've got to put my business brain back on. I've got to think, how can I make it sustainable? How can I make it a cool brand that you guys would want to get involved with it and look at it and go, geez, I want to be a part of that. Or corporates go, I want to be a part of that, and I want to sponsor that, and I want to be engaged with that and get my staff engaged, that sort of thing. So I went through the whole thing. I registered the charity, I did everything I had to do, the foundation stuff, before I launched. Then I launched the idea on a GoFundMe campaign on social media and crowdsourcing. And I thought I'll just do 20 grand, that's how much it can take me to buy a bus, which is what I needed. And I put it on there, and I just thought I'll see if people like my idea. 4 days I got 20 grand, and it was mostly from the UK and Perth. Thanks Perth, and if you're watching, yeah. And we're currently 4 or 5 months in now, up to 115,000. So that's enough to pay for my first bus, fit it out, and start my pilot program, which I'm about to do in about 3 weeks' time. So I'll tell you a little bit about Sleep Bus now. So Sleep Bus, I basically buy second-hand buses and convert them into mobile homeless shelters. So if you've ever seen a Japanese pod hotel, it's like that on wheels. And so take all the seats out. So in the bus we have 22 sleep pods, single bed size. They have a lockable roller door so they can feel nice and safe. Inside the pod though, they have memory foam mattresses. They have Tontine pillows and Sheridan sheets at the moment, so all been donated by Tontine, so very comfy. They have air conditioning and heating. They have USB charging for their phones. They have lights. They have an intercom, and they also have free-to-air digital TV. Now the free-to-air digital TV is quite strategic, I suppose. One thing, it's the calm people down as they get into their pod for the first time, watch a bit of TV. Also connection, what have I missed out on in the world? Rather than a DVD that just rolls on a loop in a movie you don't want to watch. Maybe you catch up on Home and Away or what's happening in the news or whatever it might be. But it also might be that trigger that, you know what, I remember laying in bed watching TV when I had a place and my life was a little bit better. Maybe I want to get back to that and I'll do everything I can. So Sleep Bus rolls in at 8 o'clock at night, so when you've all left work or uni or whatever it might be and gone home, Sleep Bus comes in. It gets given an allocated spot every night so people know where to find it. And it's a first come, first served service, I suppose. But we'll work with other agencies, so if they've got an overflow and, hey, can you fit 19-year-old Simon in? Yeah, sure, I'll save a pod for him, sort of thing. But the solution, or where the money should go, is these long-term solutions of affordable housing, which I absolutely, totally agree with. Unfortunately, these long-term solutions take a bloody long time to happen. So in the meantime, there's still people sleeping on the street, and I can't stand that anymore. So that's why I've given myself a fairly aggressive goal of 319 buses within 6 years.
Catherine joins us to give us the ABC of SDGs at NAB. Please welcome Catherine Leong. Welcome.
People solving complex social problems. How do we get them to grow so they can maximise their impact? And that's where if you think about capitalism. That's where capital comes in. Capital can take different forms, it can take debt, equity, but I feel that a bank has a role to play in providing capital to fill that gap.
I was expecting food, but unfortunately there's no food. The bar food wasn't the best idea. The food was good. It took about an hour for them to do it, hour and a half. I missed the session. Unfortunately, I missed the session. That's bad, and now I'm gonna have to walk in a bit late to the next one. Sorry, man.
Perhaps, in fact, I will go out on a limb and say it is the only mother, father and child presentation at a social good summit that you will see this year. Let's join the Buller family out and please welcome.
Good afternoon. My name is Charlie Buller. I am 8 years old. The Sustainable Development Goals have a use-by date of 2030. I'll be 22 years old in 2030. So this summit here today is about my future. And I want to ask you all some questions. What kind of world will you create for me in 2030? Will you make sure that I access water freely? Will you make sure that I can see tigers in the wild and not in museums? Will you make sure that I do not earn less just because I'm a girl? Will you make sure that I do not live in a world torn apart by wars? Will you make sure that when I get a job, it will make the world a better place? I think we need to talk to each other. I believe we need partnerships to answer these questions. To talk about partnerships for sustainable development goals, I'd like to invite my father and my mother.
I was recently at the United Nations in New York. I've been here at the Unilever Summit on SDGs. What I've actually realized is that in the next 5 years, there will be tremendous pressure on companies to do something about poverty or tackle climate change or increase gender equality.
Summit brothers and Summit sisters, here is a tongue twister. Next on our lister, you can't resist her, Mr. Jamie Vista. Welcome, Jamie.
As a humanitarian coordinator, which really means that I advise the government, Foreign Minister Bishop, on how we respond to global humanitarian crises. So that includes how we respond to things like natural disasters, with Cyclone Winston in Fiji or Cyclone Pam in Vanuatu, but also how we respond to a lot of the conflict, protracted crises like the devastating situations in Syria, South Sudan, Central African Republic, Iraq, etc. Better invest and focus on the before side, and how can we better engage on the after. And then I briefly want to leave a little challenge for all of you, particularly some of the younger people in the room, who hopefully will take up leadership roles in the near future, either in the non-government sector or in government or private sector or academia.
At the high government level, the Minister of Health and the staff under them, they use the Sustainable Development Goals to orient their national plans. And so that's something that's very exciting, because if you look at all of these goals and the sub-goals within them, they are these tremendously aspirational goals. And they ask, well, what kind of world do you want to see by 2030? If we get to all of these different goals, then we're pretty much there. And so I think that that's really exciting to see that acknowledgement from the government using these. And I think that that's happening in quite a few countries around the world.
Back to the myth, the very first myth of the global goals, which talks about, it's just for international development approaches and not necessarily for domestic. Well, yes, it is. And if we don't include in our dialogues the whole people dialogue, we don't move anywhere. We stay with that predictive strategy, and we will just be like moving the cars around the car park rather than finding out what's causing the traffic jam. If you don't have the purpose and the end point in mind, how can you work back towards the most day-to-day action that you do? They don't line up if you don't have the end point. In Australia, we do not, and I made this point earlier, we don't actually have an overarching outcomes framework.
Hello everyone. I've got a tough time slot. You're all in a post-lunch slump. So my name's Anna, and I'm from Pollinate Energy, a social enterprise that works in India, bringing life-changing products to the people who need them the most, the people that are living in urban slums. Energy poverty affects nearly 1.3 billion people globally, and 400 million people of those are living in India, mostly in those slums. Without access to electricity, they rely on kerosene for lighting. Can you believe that? Kerosene and a small, tiny little candle that barely emits much light at all. The cost of kerosene is significant, both financially and for their health. When you light a kerosene candle inside one of these structures, so it's basically like a tent. If anyone's here at a camper, you'll know how restricted the air is in a tent. You're inhaling the equivalent of 2 packets of cigarettes per day. You can't see those fumes, but that's what you're breathing in. No one has told these people living in these communities that kerosene fumes are one of the biggest killers of women and children in India. And it seems a little bit ridiculous, don't you think, that we could potentially have another option, like a solar light. But this is the best. And I won't do the drop test. You can drop it and it doesn't smash. But I bet you if I did, it would smash. You plug it in through a cord, and it runs up along the roof line, and we install it on the roof. And their mission was simply to replace that kerosene with a solar light, because why not? In this room, we know that social enterprise is in its infancy. We've had the opportunity to engage with so many social enterprises worldwide, mostly US, UK, Europe, and they are far along compared to Australia. I'm pleased to see sort of the governments having some conversation, I guess, with the industry, and there's lots of things happening with incubators and accelerator programs and universities as well, so this is great. But there's a long way to go if we seriously want to harness the potential of this industry in Australia, and to avoid it being watered down by people simply just wanting to cash in. It's young people who are becoming social entrepreneurs, because for the most part they're the ones that can take on the inherent risk and financial insecurity than the rest of us that may have children and mortgages and things. And in saying that, I think potentially the great Australian dream is moving from owning your own home to owning your own business, which is very exciting, and particularly for me at 23 when I started my first business and everyone thought I was particularly crazy. It's nice to see that there's great support now for young people to take on that risk and have a go, and it's great for our economy as well. Some universities have started to offer courses in social business, which is fantastic, but it also needs to be a greater play on mainstream education and not just an obscure elective. There also needs to be more hands-on opportunities for students, and for one of these reasons we started the student fellowship program where we take students to India and have hands-on experience with Pollinate Energy in our communities. The second one is support for scale. So scale remains a big challenge for most enterprises, and that's why they do stay small and local. Achieving scale is often done through strategic partnerships with government or unique funding wins, which Pollinate's fortunately been the recipient of, because we have been able to prove our impact. But there needs to be greater opportunities for social enterprises beyond that startup stage, and move beyond the thinking that impact investment is one of the best solutions, because it doesn't fit every model. If you're someone that's considering impact investment, it may not be right for your business. And certainly not right necessarily for Pollinate as we currently stand. So those working with the poorest of the poor like us, we're never going to be able to generate the kind of profit an investor is going to want to need in return. So there has to be something else, grant funding, for that missing middle, that missing middle like us that's done that startup phase. We've got some hype funding, but now here we are now, and we need to scale. But how do we do that? Last one is collaboration and partnerships. If you've heard me speak before, you'll know that this is a big motivation for me. There's simply no point in all of us going about this on our own. There's so much that we can learn from each other, resources shared, opportunities, network, for example. And that's only going to help all of us create a successful social enterprise industry within Australia. I just also want to mention, I know it's really difficult to start your own business, and then the social business is a whole different level of crazy, and I think you're very brave to be doing that. And while there'll be dead ends and sleepless nights and lots of gambles, there'll also be those champagne moments where your heart bursts with happiness that you've finally made a difference. And so I implore you not to give up, and if you ever need anyone to champion your efforts, you can give me a call. I'd be more than happy to talk to you. So thanks so much.
She's not kicking global goals. Katarina's passion, she says, is eating wheat bix, but dry wheat bix with no milk whatsoever, which she snacks on constantly throughout the day, including today. Her other claim to fame, and I promise you this is true because she emailed it to me, and it said that she can flawlessly type and text whole documents without ever looking at her computer or phone, whilst having a completely separate conversation with someone, and never mix up what she is doing. I'm sure she's good at it. I'm sure she's telling the truth, although her email to me did say, honey, can you please empty the dishwasher? She's here to talk global goals. Please welcome Katarina Sullivan.
As I was preparing for the presentation today, I thought back to 12 months ago. I just got back from New York, had been completely transformed in my thinking about how we can make Australia a sustainable country, and how we can make countries in the Indo-Pacific region sustainable by 2030. To me, you're sitting in the room where I'm presenting to the very first audience that I don't need to educate you on what the goals are, what they aim to achieve. I'm here to tell you today how we're going to achieve them. So that's a big thing. So everyone, for being informed global citizens, give yourself a round of applause. That's awesome. And I was thinking, I want to share this hiking experience with my kids one day. I want to be able to have them see these mountains, have them smell the fresh mountain air, listen to the songs the bird sings, have that brief moment of panic when your foot slips on moss because you're too busy talking about a presentation and you're not concentrating on what you're doing. I want them to have that experience. I don't want them to miss out because of my generation and the generation before me. And that's what the Global Goals Australia campaign is about. It's not about us. It's not just about us. It's not just about our future. It's about our children's future and our grandchildren's future. Away from corporate social responsibility and into this field of completely different sustainable business models. And we're working with businesses to do this. So we partner with NGOs from all over Australia to support them in their mission to do direct aid work with the global goals.
In 2010, I boarded a train in India. I was 24 at the time, and I was on a sabbatical of sorts. I just completed a very successful 3-year tenure working on a remote education program for children in the Northern Territory, but I was restless. I'd reached a crossroads in my life I realised that the traditional model of charity was broken and that something drastic, something really big needed to be done if we were going to address the development goals of our generation. I believe that it is unrealistic and short-sighted to expect the extraordinary job of feeding the world to be left to the charities and aid organisations that are too often financially unsustainable and not able to address the issue long-term. I believe that it is unrealistic and short-sighted to expect the extraordinary job of feeding the world to be left to the charities and aid organisations that are too often financially unsustainable and not able to address the issue long-term. As the world is heating up and the population is expanding, the issue of food security is only growing worse. Poverty, climate change, and food security were and remain to me to be three interrelated issues very much in need of a new solution, a long-term orientated approach. Each year, 6 million children die before the age of 5, and 45% of those deaths are directly related to malnutrition. Further, 1 in 10 people in our global population currently goes hungry, and the UN predicts that by 2030 there'll be another 2.3 billion mouths to feed. We've got a lot of work to do. Not investing in nutrition today could represent a 2 to 3% loss in a country's GDP by 2030. In a third world country like Ethiopia, it's predicted to be as high as 16%. 29 million children will be malnourished in 2030 unless something sustainable is done. I want to see a food ladder in every community that needs one. I want to see the appropriate technology, which we have at our disposal, combined with the best minds, coming together and committing to the proven social enterprise solutions that will change our world and these statistics. It's not just an issue of addressing hunger. It's about ensuring economic development, addressing long-term health, and being realistic about the very serious implications of climate change. The old model of charity will never work in achieving the development goals of 2030. Until we begin to see the challenges of the globe as our own, we will never move forward. This isn't rocket science, it's just a really, really good idea, executed well with focus and commitment. So this afternoon I'd like to leave you with a request. Please think differently about the development goals of 2030. And if you have the stomach for it, be a part of the organisations that are truly breaking the mould to find sustainable solutions that will change the world. Thank you.
Peter is now the CIO, the Chief Impact Officer of Thank You. He carries responsibility of overseeing the development as well as the implementation of projects in Australia as well as worldwide, as well as managing the social enterprise innovative Track Your Impact system. Peter told me that despite having amassed a few talents and a few hobbies, he has never been able to learn how to whistle. He is unable to whistle, nor can he blow up a balloon. How about the fascinating things we are learning about people? So ladies and gentlemen, when you welcome him to stage, those of you who can whistle, whistle as well as a great round of applause. Please welcome
Awesome. So, Thank You group. Who put your hand up if you've ever heard of Thank You, what we do? Amazing, that's nearly all of you guys. And seemingly like a lot of the organisations that I've just been seeing here, we've had this rapid growth over the last 5 years where if I asked the same group of people 5 years ago, people would have been like, you've actually spelled thank you wrong, like what are you guys doing with that? And it's became a grammatical kind of conversation that's the entry point to it. But yeah, over the last 5 years we've grown exponentially. And also similarly speaking, the global goals, and let's be really real with you guys, like eradicating poverty by 2030, that is chasing impossible. Like at no point in history has there ever been a population where there's no extreme poverty, there's a person not living in hunger, there's a person receiving clean and fresh access to water and toilets. At no point in history has that ever been done before. Impossible is not a fact, it's an opinion. Impossible is not a declaration, it's a dare. Impossible is potential, impossible is temporary, impossible is nothing. I think for us, social enterprise is such a, I would say, a rich way of actually combating and achieving some of these global goals that we're all in here for. Firstly speaking, who thinks bottled water is incredibly stupid and silly? Put your hand up. Awesome, we all do, myself included, which is really funny admission. I don't think you've ever heard a bottled water company say that bottled water is actually stupid, but we proudly and unashamedly say yes. However, put your hand up if you've ever bought bottled water. Great, we all have as well. So that's the story where we learned right in 2008 that bottled water here in Australia is worth $600 million. Incredibly silly, incredibly stupid. So we thought, you know what, and my hand's up for this. If you're going to purchase bottled water, why not transform that purchase? Because you might have forgotten your reusable bottle, you might not have access to tap water at one point in time. Why not change that simple purchase decision into funding something actually good? So, we started in 2008. We were 19, so we had zero business experience. We basically Googled how to start a water bottle company. Whenever we had talked to our friends, our families, businesses around Australia, they would say, hey, we're in on this, except we can't find it anywhere. And we had gone to each major retailer for the last 2 weeks and just gone, hey, please take us. Like, we've been pitching boardrooms, waving our hands up really passionately, but everyone had the same response to us, which was, where's your marketing budget? Where's your $1 million that you're going to play to use for a television campaign, a promotional strategy? Where's that $1 million? Because you're competing against the big Coca-Colas and multinational companies, and we don't believe without that, you're going to sell. We decided in 2011 to launch something called the 7-Eleven campaign, where we had booked a meeting with 7-Eleven's entire senior leadership team, which they don't know anything about what the meeting was, but we had put a date and a date count on our website and said, hey supporters, if you think 7-Eleven should stock Thank You Water, jump on their Facebook wall, jump on whatever walls that you guys want, including the actual store walls, and just tell them, hey, if you guys stock Thank You Water, we would buy it. And we were blown away, like phenomenally blown away by the response, where people writing raps and jingles and singing songs, and the 7pm project picked it up, and Carrie Bickmore at the end of the segment, which we didn't even kind of ask her to, she said, hey guys, jump on board, 7-Eleven